Ms. MR, as one of the companies participating in the job fair, can you give us some insight as to why companies like StratPoint, what you're looking for in professionals skilled in cloud computing?
Well, thank you. As in StratPoint, we're really a technology company. So our goal is to be a team of elite leaders of technology, because that's what's needed to really help companies, businesses, in the Philippines and all over the region and across the world, digitally transform. And having access to those skilled technical people is very important for us. In fact, that's our number one business, providing technology to companies. So programs like Restart that actually increase that pool of talent are really, it's really key for our business. And so, in StratPoint, whenever we recruit or get new hires, we're really big believers already in getting, people from other industries or other backgrounds into IT. So I often say, join StratPoint and then, I'll bring you to the IT industry where you will have a career, you will have a future, your family will have a future. And AWS with Restart just put that on steroids by making this pitch available to everyone anywhere in the Philippines. And as I've heard, and starting from the UK, now it's all over the world. So we're happy to be part of this, because it's always a question of, can it scale, right? And AWS is all about scaling. And so scaling education like this, is really so worthwhile endeavor, and happy to support it. And we really are looking to the talent pool produced by Restart, because we've been growing a lot in our company. We can't get enough people. So this is very important.
Thank you very much, Ms. MR. Now, I'll circle back to Connor. What would you say are the core benefits for students participating in AWS Restart, and what are the benefits for companies that hire AWS certified professionals?
Yeah, so I think, of course, for the program to work, you need two sides of the coin, set of benefits, right? So on the student side of it, obviously, look, this world of cloud computing is kind of, it's everywhere. It's ubiquitous now. So it's hard to believe, right? It's like cloud computing. We still, having said that, even though cloud is now very much a well-known term, and AWS globally is an $80 billion plus business, and we have a really strong business here in the Philippines. With customers like Globe back since 2012, and largest banks like BDO and Union Bank and KFC and Jollibee and Shaky and all of these well-known names, and a really strong startup heritage, and really doing a lot of work in SMBs. There's an awful lot of work happening, but having said that, there is still less than 10% of IT spend in the world today is in the cloud. And so there is still a huge amount of work to be done for organizations to fully derive the value proposition of cloud. So many organizations are on the journey, almost all are on the journey to some degree, but very few, unless you start as a startup, are all in on the cloud, which means that this wave of digitalization, this wave of cloud computing has still got a long way to run. So if you think about your career, and then you think about external tailwinds, and then our CEO, or former CEO and founder, Jeff Bezos, wrote a shareholder letter every year. He wrote one about being a day one company, and he said you should always embrace external tailwinds. If you think about your career through that lens, cloud computing is an external tailwind. It's not an industry that's going anywhere anytime soon. It's only going to grow, and so I think that's a big phenomenon. First of all, now you need to be passionate about it. But I think the other thing is the program, as we've designed it, it gives you an on-ramp into this industry. And so what I mean by that is it's holistic, like we said. It gives you access to training. It's done in a way where it's focused. It's now a proven playbook. We've done this, as I said, in over 60 countries, so we're refining the program all the time based on feedback loop. The first and second graduates who went through this, we've now fed that learning back into the next revision of the program. And so we'll continue to do that. And then the other thing is that, as I said as well, working in cloud computing, for it to be truly an innovative force, you also need to change the way you work. So as part of this program, we also want to teach collaboration skills and teach skills that are needed to be able to work in a fast-paced, often ambiguous environment. I think that's a big positive. Then, of course, thirdly, we're very focused on creating access to the right employers who are committed to the program, such as StratPoint, and building that pathway. So I think from an applicant side, there's an awful lot of positives. And then from an employer's perspective, I think if you think about the industry, and every single employer or company in the world today is facing a disconnect between the demand they have for digital skills and the supply that's available to them, either within their own organizations or more broadly. And if you think about how you build scalability and sustainability in your organization, you have to start building the base. If you just go and try to hire senior developers and senior system engineers and senior IT executives, it's a zero-sum game. Like, what you need to do is you need to change the demographic of the IT talent network. And how you do that is you invest in the next generation. And you're thoughtful on how you acquire talent from untapped or undertapped talent sources. That's really what we're trying to do here. I think that's really what we're trying to do, is create that pathway for employers. And if employers lean into this and they really believe in this, and they create that pathway that's meaningful, then I think you can, number one, create a really long-term change demographic, but also I think it can have a positive cultural impact in their organizations, because you can see what these people do, and it can have a positive CSR impact as well, but I think it can create meaningful business value quickly.
Thank you, Connor. You did mention a couple of companies that AWS is currently working with. Can you tell us about some of them and how it's related to upskilling?
Yeah, look, I think there's again, you can't do a cloud transformation program. We often say in cloud transformation, it's not about the IT change, it's a transformation program, which is a people change program. And so we think about this idea of building cloud fluency, and really what we want to do is we want to think about how we can change your organization holistically. And we start with often around how you hire and develop talent. So we work with organizations, for example, again with Glow, on doing employer branding, doing hack to hire events where we kind of create events where we get people, developers, to actually solve real world problems and use that as a way to shortlist potential candidates. Then we expose them to how we hire at Amazon and our leadership principles and our concept of the bar raiser. We also do a lot around employer branding, so sharing how we brand AWS as an employer and see if we can share those best practices. And then what we do, once they come into the organization, we try to think about the cloud fluency conversation holistically. So often we do sessions at the boardroom level and talk about what it means to be a cloud fluent organization. We work with the finance organization, the risk organization, the line of business leaders, and not just the IT organizations. And we build programs of work and training programs tailored to each one of those individuals, whether it's DevOps or security operations or FinOps, financial operations. So everyone in the organization has a role to play in these areas. And then we measure that over time through various programs. And the AWS Skills Builder being one, and Glow being a great example, Union Bank as well, have done a really large transformation program with us.
Can you tell us, this is for you, Connor, again. What is AWS's newest program on upskilling?
Yes. So a lot of what we do again is this idea of reach. So one of the things we did, reInvent 2020. So reInvent being our largest global cloud conference, and it's in Las Vegas. And in December 2020, we made a commitment to train 29 million people on the AWS cloud by 2025 through various different training programs. And I was in Jakarta last week, and we have already trained, for example, there 300,000 people on the AWS cloud over the last number of years, and we've trained many hundreds of thousands more. And we've recently launched a program in August 2022 called AWS Skills Builder. And so the idea of that program is that, again, meeting individuals where they are. So it's an online program where you can sign up through a subscription basis. You get access to over 500 different training programs, self-paced labs, interactive training, and then it can kind of guide you through various career pathways through the program. So we've just launched that program, and the idea is that, again, thinking about the comment around the way we start is getting into the provinces or into tier 2 and tier 3 cities. The same thing with this is we're trying to figure out how do we, people who have maybe want to change careers, but they can't do it when we start all at once. They may have to do it at night or offline or whatever. So we launched this online program to see if we again create another pathway for cloud skills.
Thank you, Connor. Very insightful bits of info. It shows us how AWS really put focus on skills. And it's great to see the commitment of two leading Philippine companies embedding cloud tech within their organizations, actually. Now, circling back to AWS Restart, Grace, can you tell us a little bit more about the program and how it is implemented, a bit more detail?
Okay, so just what I mentioned earlier, first in terms of the audience that we are reaching out to, this is not anymore limited to how we used to define education here in the Philippines, right? So it really opened the gates for a bigger audience. Now the program in itself, it's a 9 to 12 week program, and it's definitely being led by certified practitioners and trainers of AWS, so we could guarantee the knowledge and skills to be present. The program also is allowing real case scenarios wherein how exactly are these skills getting applied to real work scenarios. So those would be the kind of exercises that our learners will be having. Together with that, there's this like lab experience. So for us Filipinos, when we say lab, automatically what comes up to our head is just like a science laboratory with all these different gadgets. Well, the exciting thing is there's an equivalent of that in the cloud world, and it still could be of the same kind of experience. So there's like an on-lab experience that our learners are having. And then together with that, the training also allows them to have an exposure of these different future employers that they could be having an interaction with, which is just like what some of our graduates have experienced this morning, wherein they got exposed to different kind of opportunities of what work could be outside after finishing their program. And apart from that, just like what I mentioned also earlier, we want this to be a holistic learning. So the holistic learning is allowing them to also see and be prepared on how they could be ready for job interviews. So we are providing that kind of coaching. What I also have experience and what we are trying to incorporate also as Edukasyon. Because as Edukasyon, we want to make sure that we are not just preparing guidance and opportunities from education to employment. What we believe in is that there should be joyful experience as they're going through learning and that preparation towards work. Because when you're enjoying something, that's when grit naturally follows. And that's where we want to incorporate more of that joy, making sure that they get to discover themselves more as well through the journey. That this is not just about adding more skills, but am I also finding joy and getting to know myself more as they go through the learning. So that by the time they start their career, we all know, if there's something that you're passionate about, it's just natural for us to give that extra mile, not just because you're skilled. And as they go through that learning, we would want, as Edukasyon, be able to impart that to our learners as well. That it becomes not just a learning journey, but a joyful learning for our learners.
Not just building your resume, enrich your lives and yourselves as well. Speaking of resumes, actually there is an ongoing job